Brittany Reed is a professional transaction coordinator and the founder of the Closings Pro. Brittany, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Great to have you. I think that what you do is super relevant and super important, especially when it comes to a real estate agent being able to scale their business.
Yeah.
So I was excited to connect with you. I think this is going to be really relevant and great information for our real estate agent audience.
Yeah.
But Brittany, before we dive into the Closings Pro and advice you have for agents and the kind of work that you do and how you help agents scale their businesses, share. I always like to start these conversations with a little bit of the guest's background. So share a little bit
Yeah.
of your story and how did you get into the real estate industry?
Yeah, so I am initially from New York. I went to South Carolina for college. So if there's any Gamecock fans, um, I now live in Georgia. I've been here about 10 years and I got my real estate license back in 2018. I started out as a buyer's agent on a team, and then I kind of learned about this side of the business and it actually being a whole separate job. So I started doing obviously my own transactions. And then the woman that I worked with, I asked her if I can start doing hers. And I think that everyone is good at something. Agents are very good at selling, if that is like your niche. I am more of OCD. I like to keep things in check, like paperwork, deadlines, things like that. So I kind of realized, like, oh, I like this side better, and I can only do this. Like, I don't have to do both. And so then once I kind of figured out that this is where I wanted to be, I did it more full time, started working with more people, and then starting a business is scary, as most people probably know. And so last year, kind of had, I was kind of backed into a corner and decided to go off on my own and really make my business legit and, get a website, get an LLC, all of that. And so here I am.
What do you think it was about the role of transaction coordinator that appeals to you so much? Is it like the organizational side of it?
Yeah, I think it's the organizational side. It also coincidentally kind of fell in the COVID time, right? So 2020. And I realized, like, oh, I can do this fully remote and I can still make money. I don't have to be out driving around in the field. And that was really attractive to me. And to be honest, at the time, I was like, oh, well, I'll just do this part time. And then, once COVID kind of goes away and we're back in business, I'll just go back to be trying to be an agent. And then I just started doing a ton of transactions a month. And I was like, well, I guess this is full time for me now. And I just have never left doing this. So it kind of just happened on its own, but I think it was a blessing in disguise.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. It's
Yeah.
funny how that happens sometimes.
Yeah.
The timing just sort of, the stars all sort of aligned at the same time, and we know when it's right. It seems
Yeah.
like when we launch something, it's always scary, no doubt about it. But yeah, I can kind of relate to that.
Yeah.
And
It
how
also
did
doesn't feel
you?
like a job. Like
Yeah,
I truly love what I do. Um, so I just think that it definitely everything happened for a reason.
how did you acquire your business after so you started in 2023? Is that correct? Or launched
Yeah.
officially your own
I launched
company in
officially in
2023?
2023. Um, during COVID, I started working for a larger company who did transactions on a larger scale than what I was doing initially.
Hmm.
And I worked with them for a couple years. And then last year, there was some behind the scenes things that were happening. And I kind of realized, like, I have my license, I have experience as an agent, I've bought a couple houses myself, and I have a good network. And why not work for myself? So all of these things kind of, it was like a revelation for me. Like, I can do this, and I just needed that like kick in the butt to kind of get everything going. And yeah, here I am a year later. And my business, I mean, the first year, it has been amazing. It was officially a year in September. So it was a lot busier than I was anticipating. But I closed 140 transactions in my first year.
Wow.
I'm used to closing over 300, and I would like to work up to that.
Sure.
But I do think working for yourself and kind of choosing how many agents you work with or how many transactions you are going to work a month, it kind of gives people a little bit more personalized experience, and also that attention that the agents and their clients deserve. So,
Kind of the best of both worlds, right?
yeah.
You're a licensed agent, but now you also have, through your specialty of coordinating transactions for agents, you're able to work remotely, really for the most part, right? Or
Yeah.
100% remote?
100% remote.
Yeah,
I
that's awesome.
honestly, yeah, I'll just bring my laptop. Like if I have to be somewhere, I'll bring my laptop. I can just work from anywhere. So it's great.
I love it.
Yeah.
And I think most successful agents have sort of that entrepreneurial spirit anyway. And so many that I've met over the years have kind of carved out their own niche, their own, expertise and their own type of properties that they work with, or the types of buyers or sellers, clients that they work with. So it makes sense that you kind of aspire to start your own company, start your own
Yeah.
business. So
Yeah.
that's really, really cool.
Thank you. I do
I
think like, sorry, I didn't mean to cut
No,
you.
go ahead. You're fine.
I think real estate is so versatile. Like you don't have to get your license and be an agent, or you like there's so many different paths that you can take. So I do think that is like the beauty of the industry is like you can run your business. I think everyone operates differently, with a common goal in mind, but there's no like mold that you have to fit. So I think it's great.
Yeah, I agree. That's one of the beauties of the industry of
Yeah.
obtaining your license is having the ability to go in a direction that best suits you, that, you're really passionate
Yeah.
about and that you love.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when you love what you do, you never work a day, right? So,
So they say.
so they say.
It does feel like
Well,
that though.
give me kind of an overview of the services that you provide agents, and this will be especially helpful for agents who haven't necessarily worked with a transaction coordinator
Yeah.
on their own. So just give us kind of a broad overview of the services that you provide.
Sure. So there are three different packages in my business. Everything is customizable. I do pre-listing management. So say an agent gets their listing agreement signed by their sellers and they need to get everything into the MLS to go live and market the home. We will get on the MLS, we'll input that property information. We will upload the photos once they come back from the photographer. If there's any disclosures that are signed by the sellers that need to go onto the MLS for the other agents, we'll get all of that together and ready to go live. And so then once we do that and the agent reviews the listing, making sure everything looks how they want it to, we will hit submit and it will be live on all MLS platforms, Zillow, all of that. So that is our pre-listing package, and that's also customizable. My basic listing package is just that. It's very basic. It will just get you on the MLS. But there is customizable options for it to be a little bit more in depth, communicate with their sellers, in the whole nine. Then we also do offer writing. So if the agents are in the field or they're busy with other clients and they need to write an offer, we will do that. So I'm licensed in Georgia. And so that is Georgia's our main state. We work through the entire state. We are slowly branching into Tennessee. But so for my agents in Georgia, I do offer writing that is available for them. And then our transaction package is our most popular. That is as full service as possible. I like to consider myself an extension of my agent. So once they go binding with their clients, whether it be buyers or sellers, they pass that binding contract over to me, and I will take it from there until closing. A transaction coordinator can save agents up to 16 hours per transaction. So it is a big deal, I think, especially if you are, working multiple clients at one time, or you're really focusing on lead generation. Once you go binding, you can kind of pass that contract to me, and then you can focus on your next deal, your next client, whether it be, cold calling, door knocking, or say you just want to go on vacation and know that someone at home is handling everything. So there's a lot of benefits to it. Once the agent goes binding, they'll send that over to me. I will introduce myself to all parties as their transaction coordinator, letting them know, like, hey, please include me in all communication. I'll compare dates with the other agent just to make sure that all the contingencies line up. We're all on the same page. I can draft all the amendments except anything to do with repairs. So I don't do any negotiations during inspections. I don't draft any amendments related to inspection items. I can draft anything else. I can do commission agreements. I'll get utilities, schedule closing, the whole nine. I'll send the agents reminders prior to all the due diligence dates ending, and then a reminder before closing to them and their clients. And then once we finish closing, I close out the file on all platforms. I also do all their broker management, making sure, the documents are compliant with the broker, submit their commissions. There's a couple of different platforms that brokers use. So I do think that's an attractive piece too. For a lot of my agents, they're like, oh, I never have to submit docs to the office, or, if they flag something that's not compliant, I don't have to fix it. You will. So there's a lot that I think is very beneficial. And that's kind of just like a gist of what someone could expect if they work with me.
Yeah, that paints a really good picture. I love how you also showed that practical example of how the full service transaction package can save an agent up to 16 hours of time. And when you think about that, for most agents who are, have a target of 2 or 3 listings or transactions per month, that's over a week's worth of work if you're doing 3 or 4 transactions. That's almost a week if you're doing 2 transactions a month, which in most markets is a solid business for a single agent. So yeah, I think that the value kind of speaks for itself, don't you think?
I mean, I think so. And also, being licensed, being experienced, their clients will reach out to me with questions, and I will always answer to the best of my ability. And if I don't know, I'll direct them. This is a lender question, this is a attorney question, and I can CC an email with all parties and make sure, everyone's questions are being answered. And so it's not just, doing documents and things like that. It's also communicating with their clients who, more than likely are stressed, especially first-time home buyers if they've never done this before. There's a lot of emotions through the whole process. And if they can't reach their agent because their agent is busy, then they'll reach out to me. And, if I can help, calm them down or answer the questions that they have at the moment, then, it helps the agent then too. So.
Absolutely. It's like having a virtual team, right? A teammate for the agent to be able to back them up and support them. Some administrative support is always so valuable, in this industry.
It is. It is. There's lots of moving parts.
Yeah. And when an agent, sits down and considers what is the value of their time and, weighing the value of freeing up 10 to 15 or 16 hours uh, per transaction per month, is like that's huge,
That is
and they can
huge.
weigh that against the fee or the cost of working with a transaction coordinator. I think they'll find that the value is there. It's huge, right?
Yes, yeah, I agree. So,
Can you share like basically what the cost of working with a transaction coordinator looks like for an agent?
yeah, so for my pre-listing package, the basic get you on the MLS is $100. And then the transaction coordination package, which is always paid at closing, and I do not charge when things terminate unless my agents purchase the termination package, which includes the and release form. At least that's what it's called in Georgia. Um, I that's a $400. So $400 always paid at closing. If we don't close, you're not getting paid. I'm not getting paid unless, like I said, they purchase that termination package. There's just so many factors throughout a transaction that can go sideways. Um, so I don't feel like it's necessary, especially when I have agents who have been loyal to me for years. Um, to charge when things terminate because more than likely it's out of everyone's control.
Right. And as a licensed agent, that's something you can certainly appreciate, right? You can
Yes.
relate to that.
Yeah.
It's an incredible value. I mean,
Yeah.
to me, the cost of the fees, it's a no-brainer for an agent to delegate all that important work to a transaction coordinator like you
Yeah.
and have that peace of mind throughout the transaction, and also to then be able to spend more time working on their business rather than in it.
Yes. No,
Yeah.
I totally agree. And all of my agents that I work with, I try to form a relationship past just the business. So a lot of them, we're friends and we've been working together for years. And I do think that there is a level of like trust and comfort to know that someone is there for you and your clients. Because you can't be in a million places at once. So
Yeah, and that's another reason why I think it's so beneficial for an agent to work with a transaction coordinator, because
yeah,
again, we can't be all places at the same time.
right.
You're working on getting into Tennessee as well, or being able to serve Tennessee agents. This is
Yeah.
probably a dumb question, but in order to be a transaction coordinator in other states, do you need to be licensed in those states?
No, so you
No.
don't have to be licensed to be a transaction coordinator. Really, well, I won't say anywhere because I don't know every state's law,
Hmm.
but it is not a requirement. I think it has a value to be licensed.
Sure.
I actually got my license in Tennessee initially. I lived there for 1 year. I worked in Tennessee and then I moved back to Georgia and transferred my license to Georgia. So I no longer am licensed in Tennessee, but I do um, transaction coordinating in Tennessee.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
What about marketing and networking? So you were really surprised with the demand, right? How in demand your services were when you started your company, and
Yeah.
you had a great first year, and it looks like you're on the right trajectory to an even bigger 2024 and 2025.
I hope so.
How have you how have you spread your brand awareness? What do you do as far as marketing? Is it more organic, or do you advertise?
So
And,
I
what about networking?
I try. I will say marketing is not my strong suit. Like the social media, just thinking of posts and I try my best. I will say I do a lot of like sharing my agent's properties, like uh, new on the market or coming soons, or if we go under contract, I'll try to market by sharing what I have going on,
Hmm.
just so everyone else can see like, oh, she works with this person or I know that person. Let me, I do think that real estate is a huge referral based business for agents and for us. I get a lot of referrals from the agents that I already work with. I am a preferred vendor in 3 Keller Williams offices here in Atlanta. And in each of them, I have agents already that I have worked with for a while. So I do think that common connection is so big. Um, and that has been where most of my newer business has come from. I will go into the offices, I will do team meetings, I will bring food and like kind of sponsor it. And they'll give me like 5 minutes to talk to everyone about my services. And I'm coming up on a year now of doing that. And so I think the more times people see my face, they'll, you know, they'll be like, oh, I need a TC. Like I remember that girl from the office. In a perfect world, like that's how it'll work. I
Sure.
also will market to like when we close on a property, if we are working with an agent on the other side who doesn't have a TC, I will reach out to them with like a co-op marketing email. I don't go after like if I'm working with an agent and they have a TC, I don't go after them. I don't think that's fair. But if I know that they do not, I will reach out to them and try to set up a call. Most people, I think, know what a TC is and the value that we bring. So it's not a super hard sell. I think where it gets a little tricky is like I'll meet agents, and if they don't have, if they're not busy enough, they'll be like, oh, well, when I get busy again, like I'll reach out to you. So it's just kind of staying in their mind
Yeah.
without spamming them.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so that's kind of where what's been the most successful. But I will say, like, referrals from my current agents or meeting people at the networking events that I host, like tomorrow, actually, I'm doing a happy hour for one of the offices that I'm a vendor in. So I try to keep it organic.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. I think the organic networking and marketing builds more trust.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, it's true. You have to have several interactions before
Yes.
you begin to earn that trust. And there's all kinds of different estimates out there depending on the expert or guru. You know, it could be 7 interactions, could be 11, could be 22. But
Yeah.
anyway, I think the you know the important thing is to know that it takes time and consistency and showing up, just
Yes.
showing up over and over and being there to answer questions and offer value and will just keep you top of mind. I can see why referrals would be such a big part of your business. I think that most agents are going to they're not just going to Google a transaction coordinator, right?
Yeah.
They're going to ask who their colleagues work with and who they
Right.
recommend. So
Yeah.
makes
Yeah,
total
that is,
sense.
yeah. And then also, I mean, it's also a personality thing. Like I've met great agents and our personalities might be different. You know, you don't click with every single person, and or they the work ethic, or not work ethic, but um the way that people run their business, it might not always mesh. So if it's not me, it could be someone else, or if it's not someone else, it could be me. So I do think personality has a big thing to do with it too. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I appreciate that honesty and I can relate to that. In my marketing business, I there are some clients that I work really well with,
hmm
and of course, there's going to be clients that not so much, and
yeah,
sometimes we just power through it, and other times we opt to uh, best serve them by referring them to another agency. So
yeah,
yeah, that makes sense. You mentioned earlier that you get to kind of work with who you want to work with, and I think that that's one of the best reasons. That's the reason I started my first business was I wanted to be able to make that decision of who I get to work with. So
yes.
yeah,
I feel
I
like
can
that is it's so important. It's made a world of a difference for me in my business, I will say.
yeah yeah business and home and health and peace of mind and mental
Yeah.
health. Yeah, it's all tied
Yeah.
together for sure.
Yes,
Well, what
absolutely.
about, any basic tips or advice that you'd have for new agents or those who are maybe early in their entrepreneur or their real estate journey?
Yeah.
real estate slash entrepreneurial journey. What advice would you have?
So I do meet a lot of new agents, and I do think the most important thing you are a new agent is to do a couple transactions by yourself um, before you hire in help, just because it will give you an insight of, okay, this is the entire process. You might hate it and you might be like, okay, I never want to do this again, but you at least know what's going on. Because there are a lot of moving parts, and you also want to be the best for your client too. So if you hire a TC and you don't know what I do, or you don't know the process from binding contract to closing, and your buyer or seller is calling you like, hey, when is this happening, or what is this, and you can't answer that, it's not going to be a good look for you. So I recommend absolutely hiring out this service. I think it will help you leverage your business exponentially, but I do think it is important to do a transaction or two yourself, just so that you do know the entire process. Because say something was to happen and you have to step in, and if you don't know what's going on, then that doesn't benefit anyone. So I do think that it's important for new agents to do a transaction or two, learn the process, and then they can, hire that out.
I agree too. I agree as well that definitely take care of a few transactions first so that you understand and know the process. I
Yeah.
love the word that you use, leverage. That's so
Yeah.
important. That's one of the words that I love the most when it comes to describing the importance of outsourcing and delegating tasks in order to scale your business. Leverage companies like the closing pros that will uh, free up your time, take care of things efficiently and streamlined and reliably, and then focus on working on your business, not so much in it all the time.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. Brittany,
Thanks.
this has been awesome. I appreciate
Yes.
you joining the podcast. I'm so glad that we connected. I love that I got to have a transaction coordinator, a professional transaction coordinator on the podcast because I think that I'm personally I'm a big fan of the work that you do and the value that you provide for real estate agents. So this is going to be great. Before I close, how can listeners learn more about you and connect with theclosingpro.com?
Sure. So they can follow me on Instagram, send me a DM if they have any questions. It's the Closings Pro. That's my handle. And then my website, I have my email and there's a submission form that if they have questions, they can fill that out, or they can send a DM. I know not everyone likes to go to the website and fill out forms. On the website, though, there is a breakdown of each of my packages and all of the services that it is in each one. And there is also, if we've never worked together before, I offer $50 off the first contract, which is always paid at closing. And just kind of to see, like, is this going to be a fit? Do I like this service? And then I also try to make it super simple for agents to onboard with me. I know that their time is limited and valuable. They don't have, tons of free time to be filling out documents and things like that. So I make it super simple, very quick, pain-free to sign up to work with me.
Pain free. I love it. That's awesome. I misspoke earlier. I mispronounced it. It's theclosingspro.com. Right.
Yes.
Okay. That's the website and the Closings Pro on Instagram. Of course, I'll drop the link in the description for this episode, and we will tag you on Instagram when we publish this episode as well and send it out to our email list. Brittany, once again, just want to thank you so much. Brittany Reed's the founder of the Closings Pro, and she is a professional transaction coordinator based in the Atlanta metro area, Georgia. Brittany, thanks for joining the podcast.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.